Hi guys, in the earlier version of the introduction I told you how to write the introduction, but I didn't actually explain the tips I have. So in this video I'll explain the tips that I have when it's come to the introduction that I actually learned when I was writing my introduction for my thesis, for my master's thesis. So here we go. At the beginning, I want to tell you when you're writing your introduction, it's better to cite the recent studies because you need to explain your research gap to the audience, whoever they're reading your research thesis. So you need to explain these are the things that actually have done right now, and there's a gap that I need to fill, and it's really uh, matters for the future investigation or future studies. So you have to imply that thing using the background information you have and the literature support you have. So it's better to cite the recent studies, and you should actually cite the recent studies. But when it's come to the definitions and things like that, like the hallmarks of your research project, for example diabetes, or whatever the definition for the diabetes, you need to go for the oldest version of that definitions. Like you just need to cite the best and oldest and we all known definition for that, things like that. And for that you should go to the oldest version. And if you're actually citing that, you need to actually cite that article. And if you want to write the definition in the exact same word, you need to use the quotations. And otherwise you have to write in your words. So I hope you guys know you cannot actually write the same thing in your any research article. You read them all and get the idea, and you need to write that in your words. And like in this, you're saying the same story with a different way, things like something like that. But make sure to write the article for that. And the other thing is, when you're writing your introduction, you can actually use the past tense, and you can actually use the active tense. So I will say I prefer to use active tense, and sometimes you can use passive and past tense if you want, but most of the time it's better to use the active tense. And if it's better not to use I and be like verbs in your introduction, and it's not really uh, professional to use it. You can use here and there, but not in majority of your introduction, I can say like that. And other tip I have for you is it's better to start early as possible to write your introduction. Even you want to change it in later, you have time for that, but if it's better to start early as possible, because when you start your research, you have to learn new things, you are learning new techniques, and you have to interpret your results. And for all those things, it's better if you have a kind of idea early about your research. And that's why you need to do the literature review about your research. And for example, let's say you will get data that you didn't really expect it, and you feel like, oh, I did something wrong, and the whole I say I did it wrong or something like that, whole technique I did it wrong. But is that true? Is that not true? Is that actual results you should get, or is something wrong you did? So how you know? So for that, you actually had to read a research article before. And sometimes when you start working on some method, you will feel like this is not exactly the way I want to go. And you need again read the research article about that, and see whether there are different techniques they have used that you can actually use in your research. So you cannot use it later, because you have to use that when you're actually doing it. So there's no point when you read later and you cannot do the same thing again. It's like wasting your time, and it's like wasting your resources. So again, it's better to read the early as possible. And I want to tell you, sometimes you can write many as many as possible number of pages you want. But thing is, when it's come to the final editing, sometimes that will throw out. It's fine, but still it's better to have a good, really strong foundation than not really knowing what you are doing. Because when actually you are defending your thesis, then your audience or the committee will actually ask a question that you have never thought about, and you need to have knowledge to answer those questions. Again, I don't know whether it's related to the introduction, but when you are reading article for your introduction, I thought these tips probably will help you, and you will feel like you need to read this stuff much proper way, and because eventually you're going to use it. And make sure to clearly introduce your hypothesis, and explain explicit way that everybody can understand, because your hypothesis is really important, and again you need to explain why you are doing it and how important it is. I hope these more small tips probably will helpful for you when you start writing your introduction.